Let me put my headphones on, too. And we're live.
Squad 8.
What's up, y'all? KID Astronaut Podcast, Episode 5. I've been doing 5 of these. They've been fun. Today's guest, Quinn Marchman. That's the first time I've called you by your full name.
Yeah, no, it's only the government, man, but I appreciate
your
it.
Facebook.
Oh, true.
I've just been tagging you all day, so
because
that's why I've seen it.
Well, my agent was like, I like it, but she says I have to go.
Do you
by
have
Quinn.
an agent?
Yeah. Shout out to Radical Artist Agency.
Oh, nice, man.
Gang, Kathy
Congrats,
True.
man. Are we gonna see you on some commercials or something?
No.
Not yet.
Well, I was in one for Red Robin.
Okay.
But you know, this slow money is better than no money.
Hey.
And like they tell you, like, you get an agent, go to auditions, and then like your batting average drops from there. So I was like, Red Robin money.
Yep.
And then
don't believe that. You gotta be on. I mean,
I think it will come at some point, but
yeah.
I'm not tripping over it yet.
Okay.
We're out here, like, stage is my thing anyway, so.
What do you want to do? That's what I was gonna ask next.
Oh, so we're just in it? We just wanted to say this is your 5th episode.
This is the podcast.
Quinn, 5, the quintessential element, so it feels like some of that kismet.
Knowledge.
Oh, you know, brother.
Talk about yourself, Quinn. Talk about yourself from your perspective. This is like, I haven't seen you in a while. You could be a different person now. I want to know.
You know, I appreciate that. Okay, the elevator speech to who Quinn is.
Yeah, please. That's how we start.
Currently. You know, I'm just a young lord
people.
from Denver, Colorado, seat of the Rockies. So I'm a theater producer. That's like the title that I'll go with. And that covers a whole lot of other things. An actor by trade, but I really enjoy the work that I get to do in this community because it's always shifting. I get to play a lot of roles, wear a lot of different hats. So yeah, currently, like right now, I am an actor, an MC for various events. Shout out to Peace Jam, International Youth Organization. Gotta write some more. That's really like part of my 2019 is write things, get on stage, and share those things. Because for me, I think, like, as an actor, I'm never, like, nervous in front of people. Well, that's not true. I always got the butterflies, but I go out there. I share the stage. I'm in the spotlight, and that's tight. I think can do improv, like, fairly confidently, but I think to, like, you as, like, a songwriter who you take your words and then turn them into a shareable art, that's honestly like one of the most difficult things for me to embrace right now. So leaning into the challenge of like really sharing myself, because I can share lines that I've like memorized all day, but whatever energetic practice it takes to go from the heart to the head to the page and then to the stage. That's what's got your boy a little nervous. But we're
taking a photo right now. Shout out to Ryan out here at the Pod Space.
Shout out to the Pod Space. Much like how this place exists now and we're in it, I want to do that with words, you know.
Cool.
So yeah, that's Quinn.
Is it going? I had 2 questions. Is it going more towards the stage? Because personally, I don't see a lot of people using that medium right now, and maybe it's just because I'm not like in that realm. I guess I am in the sense that I make music on stages, but as far as stage theater performances.
I mean, that's like a huge conversation right now. Like, I've been on a few panels. It's like, how do we get the young people to come to the theater? And it inherently has a couple of challenges in that most productions take a lot of time to craft, a lot of money, and then that's reflected in the ticket price. There's like the ensemble, not just the people on the stage, but the directors, the tech people, stage manager, everyone that has to come together to create a show are super talented, who've worked really hard to get where they are, and therefore they have to be compensated fairly. But that means that most shows are like $30, $40, and young people, we just don't like to part with our money in that way. I think one thing that we're really trying to do is how do you take like all of the hype and excitement for music, like live music in Denver is popping off. Right now it hasn't translated to the stage. Like any show I go to, even if I know like half the cast in there, the audience is usually like old white people because they're the traditional
Purveyors
funders
of that.
Yeah, the purveyors. That's it. And I was like, not a bad thing. I think like old people just got more patience, and like we get restless if we have to sit for like 2 hours. But I mean, shout out to a lot of the great theaters in Denver because they're doing their thing and they're financially viable. So it's a bit of a challenge, but I think naturally as you get more diverse stories being told, those audiences will come. Like I'm gonna be in a show at the Curious Theater in March. It's actually like the biggest role that I've ever had, and I'm super nervous about it.
Okay.
And, like,
Tell us about it.
It's called Skeleton Crew.
Okay.
Set in Detroit in the mid 2000s. It's a really cool story, and I think like as an actor, I was not ready to be cast in it, but as like I'm working on it and getting to know my character, I'm like, okay, I can get down with this, brother. But for me, I wanted to take on a challenge, so like I'm trying to gain 10 pounds, growing out my struggle beard because I really want to like inhabit a different human being than myself. So,
So from now until March, you'll be preparing for this role?
even like through it when it opens in late March, like even from the first show to the last one, there's still preparation that's going to be happening.
What makes it like a, what do you mean it's your biggest? What does that mean to you?
Because
you've done a lot of big things, like...
I've done big things, but like as a Black Actors Guild, we were always doing our own thing. And through a variety of like tragedy and triumph, I am fortunate enough, like now I'm out here auditioning a lot, and Curious is one of the biggest theaters in Denver and the Rocky Mountain region as a whole, and their tagline is "No guts, no story." And so they have, like, they're always pushing the line. They're telling stories that other theaters might not think is viable. Like, will our audience come out to see this?
Okay.
Curious is really like, they gon' like you build it, they will come. And so it's big in that it's like they've got a huge network who are going to come to see it. It's like 100 some odd seat theater. I'm one of 4 cast members in the show.
Okay.
So it's like very ensemble driven, but like it's the story of my character in a lot of ways.
Anyone else that I would know?
Christina Fontaine.
Okay.
She is a co-star, and honestly, like I'm so excited to work with her. Shout out to Christina.
DSA kids?
Yeah, DSA kids.
That's crazy, man. We went to high school together. Denver School of the Arts. That's what we're talking
White
about.
Siberian Tigers.
Oh, man.
White Siberian Tigers. It's on the logo now. Like if you go to the school,
It
they
is?
got the floor mats, and it's like a leaping tiger.
God. How does that correlate? That's what I've always thought about. Like, how do you think of DSA and a White Siberian Tiger?
I don't know. Well, that's one because like I like mascots, like the mythology that like schools and organizations have mascots.
Right.
It's like a cool identifier, and DSA always has to be a little bit extra. So we couldn't just be the DSA Tigers.
I want to look up what the spirit animal of a White Siberian Tiger is and see if it's it's like a deeper meaning.
Oh yeah, we can get really into it. Well, like Siberia itself is kind of a magical place, like the Russian wilderness, and then a tiger who just be out there in the trees and in the snow.
A tiger is my personal spirit animal.
Really?
Yeah.
See, but then I think you have to do the work of like exactly what kind of tiger, because there's multiple tigers, and I don't think like a Bengal tiger and a Sumatran tiger would be all like gang. We got stripes, we're the same. They would be like, no, I'm a different soul, and so.
Tiger colorism.
To a degree, yeah. Like definitely, like if you were a white tiger who rolled in on orange tigers.
Don't assume the animal kingdom subscribes to the same hatred as humans.
It wouldn't be hatred, but it would just be like, oh, you're brand new. And they would have like just some baggage to unpack, I think.
Oh my god, I would love to see that conversation. Actually, that would be a funny like sketch.
That would be actually, yeah.
I want you to do more video stuff. Why? Like I tagged you in the Jordan Peele thing.
You did, and thank you. That was the first thing I saw when I woke up this morning.
What do you think about him, by the way?
Oh,
Like,
dude.
Have you seen the trailer for Us?
Yeah.
I want to ask you what you think about that.
Oh, bro, Jordan Peele is really interesting. Like, this whole new wave of kind of like the nerdy black artist, which, having been on Twitter long enough, I know there's even problematic. Like, that identity itself can be problematic in ways.
Okay.
But I think this is really important because especially going to DSA, I was not endowed with any other skills. Like, this is my only marketable skill is the arts. And so just seeing people like succeed in a lane that you chose or like kind of chose you, I'm not sure like how do I do this? Seeing a guy like Jordan Peele who at one point was just like a cast member on bootleg SNL on Mad TV, and it was like good and funny.
I thought Mad TV was actually better than SNL.
I did think so too.
A
Yeah,
little stretch of time.
yeah. It didn't have the staying power, but it was actually like really tight for a bit. But like seeing a dude who you'd never think is now like won an Oscar for like I think it was Best Original Screenplay he won. Just knowing that like regardless of what you set out to do, your trajectory is going to change as long as you show up for it. And yeah, even like in Key and Peele hit, people were kind of like, this kind of just seems like Chappelle show.
Don't
like,
say that. No, it doesn't.
No, I'm not saying I'm a personal thing, but that was definitely like the criticism.
The only thing that I think they did like straight up Jack from Chappelle was the opening where they would like stand out on stage and like talk to the audience. Other than that, completely original like content wise.
Totally, and I think like
and that takes away from Dave Chappelle's too.
Totally, but even Dave Chappelle was like,
yeah,
and I had to see Key and Peele do it my show. It's
I think I would be like Dave, like shut the fuck up. First of all.
Episode 5, we're already taking shots at the greats. Okay, I like it.
Dave Chappelle, shut the fuck up. No,
bring the heat.
I was watching Dave Chappelle episodes this morning and laughing. He's my favorite.
So I think it's like kind of the box that. Like not just black, but anyone who like identity-based art. Sometimes it's like if something like that already existed, then it's always going to be judged to it. But even then, like to the point that when they first came out, like some of their sketches were funny and you could see how smart they were. I always like criticized. I thought they just went too long with.
Did you watch it on TV? Or the YouTube?
TV at first.
Okay, see that's different.
And even then, it wasn't like I wasn't tuning in to watch King and Peele. It was on, and I'd be like, "Well, I've already seen SportsCenter today, so I'll watch this."
Their format for their live show was, I think, why people didn't watch it. Like, I think they gained their success when it would like hit YouTube.
Definitely, like
and it was just shorter clips. Like
it was more digestible then, and I mean that's part of, like our attention spans have just dropped. But when their first episodes came out, you're like, oh, cool, I get what they're doing. You wouldn't expect, like 4 years down the road, you would get out of that.
Yeah,
and
dude, totally.
the like all the different like multiple facets of its brilliance. I think I'm like a higher critic of especially black art or art that I could see myself in because like the hater syndrome of like, man, I could have done that. That plays into it. Not saying that I want to, but naturally. But like to see him go from even Key and Peele to like the profoundness of Get Out and then whatever Us will become. I like the trailer was so tight because we were sitting watching basketball with my family, and like me and my cousins who we all live very different lives and only see each other during the holidays.
Like your cousins from Germany? Or?
Oh, no, not my shout-out cousins from Germany, but these are my kinfolk cousins. Like, we're not actually related, but we've grown up together through, like, Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so we don't always have, like, that much to talk about, but the trailer came on, and it surprised all of us. And, like, there was a true connection, like, true what the fuck type of connection that we had. and then talking about Get Out and all of that, and then we called more of the family into the room.
Hey,
like, yo, rewind this. Let's watch it again. That's like the art. That's when art becomes like phenomenon based, and it created a dialogue that otherwise wouldn't have existed. I think, on a deeper level, a lot of my family like we're very like middle class, bougie blacks, but we don't have those conversations sitting around the table like talking about race and politics too often. We're kind of like safe, but this was a moment where we were kind of like ripped out of that nice politeness, and all of us were just like, yo, nigga, what the fuck? So I mean,
what do you think caused that? Because I feel like that's the dialogue about us, is like it's about it feels like I don't know, man, it's like something about me doesn't like black culture just being like blasted to people who might not understand it. But I haven't seen Us, so I don't know I can't critique it from that space.
yeah.
And also it's important to look critically at yourself, too. And that's what I believe that the characters in Us are kind of about. What happened?
Oh, shout out to Danny Ramos.
Oh, shit! Yeah, I know, I need to bring my... Shout me out.
I'm going to channel the spirit
Danny
of Corin
Ramos.
Chavez real quick and say, fuck Danny Ramos.
Much love, Danny. Shout me out. That's so good. I love
Well, we were about to like hit the cusp of some like Ta-Nehisi Coates shit.
Shout me out. Okay, to bring it back, the question I asked was, it like Us seems very like about us, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like we're not, just personally, I don't necessarily feel like we're all at that space where we're past the transgressions of the past. And I feel like we're moving towards that. Like, I feel like culturally seeing things like Black Panther happen this year, I think that was a big cultural shift. Not to give that movie that much credit, but just the effect that it had on natural people and kids, and like there's toys with like black people on them. Like, I think it's huge around the board.
Yeah,
know?
bro.
And even like white kids wanting to be the Black Panther. Like, I thought that shit was tight. Like, wow.
Totally.
Little Aaron, you want to be the Black Panther?
Yeah, man. Like working with kids, it was a trip. Like, I was working in a school that was primarily Latino, and this dude just kept calling me Black Panther, and I was kind of like, "Stop, bro. That's like." But he's 7, so like, what am I gonna say? It's like we're not all the same, and it's problematic.
I would be like,
that you attribute.
Wakanda.
No, but of course, that's what I did. He put
Let's
up the Wakanda Forever salute. And what am I gonna do? Not do it back? I'm like, gang, gang, bro. And yeah, I've seen that. Like, it was tight. I was shopping for presents for my niece and nephews at Target, and all the Black Panther stuff was gone. There was like one mask that was broken, probably because like some kid was fiddling with it. And so like there was a whole row of Target that was gone, and that ain't just black kids who are getting exposed to that. But I think it's like the movie itself was 0.5 to me. Like,
I'm sorry, what? Like
0.5
just like on a scale of what?
of
10?
like of that and not. It was 0.5, and that's.
Wait, of that and not? What do you mean?
I want to be vague with my criticism because I'm not trying to.
What are you saying?
I'm saying like I thought it was It was like a real movie, but like it was a phenomenon not for the story itself, but for what it resonated with. Like I saw a video of a showing in I think South Africa, and they turned the whole movie into a party, and like that's just celebration. And like of course then there was like the super woke Twitter who was like, Black Panther ain't even real, and it's still white people who are making money off of it, and y'all are just feeding into the media complex, blah, blah, blah. Which is true. Like, I get it, but you're not going to take away from the joy that people felt. And that's like the genuine reaction to it shows us like how important even a little bit of representation is.
Exactly.
And I think...
What a nice way to wrap that up in a bow.
Oh, well, thank you, man. You know what I'm saying?
No, I think it's good to look at and analyze all parts of the whole. Like, you can't take away and that's why I said it's like Black Panther wasn't the most perfect film of all time. I agree. As a movie, I don't know if I would call it a 0.5. I don't know what that means. It was loud. It was exciting. He fucking got shot and turned the bullets and shot.
All right,
back. Like,
so if you're like,
that was awesome,
man, bro, I was on one. It
was
on 0.5.
I loved the film. I thought it was fun, and it was like, I think in the pantheon of like Spider-Man, Batman, like the Black Panther. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's, if you're just a cartoon fan and you just like have a movie that you can go out to and watch, and like it's supposed to be, it's a cartoon, dude. Like, it's the Black Panther. Like, have fun. You know what I'm saying? They had a lot of responsibility for that film. They did. And I think with that much onus on it, I think they did a great job, not only for the cartoon element, but also for like Black people. That's hard.
So I think like it was.
Let alone we are multifaceted as like Black culture.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
so
media in America and in large part the world is kind of like, it's a whole which has a lot of different moving parts, but like we, as I think like a 21st century society, have to own all of that. Mm-hmm. And that includes the commodification of Black culture, in that I think there is a real
Sometimes
power.
I get like mad, like deeper and introspective than you do, and then you come back and hit me with the like, nah, I'm mad introspective and deep on this side. It comes out of nowhere. I'm surprised.
Oh, stop.
No, I'm just like, I feel like this is like what I talk about like pretty much all the time, and then I'm just like, damn, I feel like not a lot of people get where I'm coming from.
I think
there's a way to talk
even with
about it, I guess.
I mean, there's a way to talk about it, and there's no right or wrong way. It's for me, like, part of my self-care practice is to sometimes just not think about it.
Really?
But I think my baseline is being very introspective. But like sometimes I'll come to a conclusion with an idea and I don't know what to do with it, and that's like really frustrating to me. So sometimes I push back from it, and like, this is great because we've got microphones and people watching us, so this is like, oh, we are on the platform to talk about it.
It's like a dialogue. I feel like that sometimes, it's just such a multifaceted dialogue. Like, I feel like I could do my own podcast just on like Black culture. That would be crazy.
But then the thing is, like, it would be a podcast about Black culture, but it would be digested by a lot more than Black people. Mm-hmm. And that's like the kind of contradiction of Black identity, I think, is that it has been commodified to the point where American culture is Black culture and vice versa. And I mean, there's like hip breakdancing competitions in Korea and DJs in Serbia. Like, it's spread out so far that the root is still there, but it's got like a lot of different branches. And if we only identify with Black culture as like what media represents it as, is, I think, problematic. But it's also just like, man, what a motherfucking flex that, like, of all the ways
to influence
Black
culture.
Existence was like trying to be destroyed, that it still is
like a major part of.
Yeah, like I honestly believe that there's like some like alt-right, straight up racist dudes
who rap.
Well, like, who rap, but like you hear Migos and it's like
you can't not like,
because I mean, there's been times that like I've even been like, oh, Migos sucks, but then you just hear some like there's no way that cooking is not kind of tight. And so I think
Black people are awesome. I can't imagine.
Black people are so dope.
So I wanted to switch topics a little bit.
Okay, we'll save that for when you the next podcast will be.
Yeah, we'll be like episode, I don't know, whatever. So yeah, I wanted to talk about. I don't know what do I want to talk about. I just wanted to switch topics. What does the future look like to you? What does your future look like?
Well, you're talking about like, so we're gonna slide back into it societally, or just like.
Yeah, I guess as a society, like, where do you hope that we go?
Tight. I think about this shit all the time.
Podcast episode 5.
1, 2, 3, 4,
What'd you
5.
call it? Quintessential.
Yeah, this is the podcast number 5, the quintessence. That black matter, motherfucker. The ether.
I didn't want to hear that whispered into my headphones.
Quintessence.
It's like, please warn me.
The quintessence is all around us. I think like Aristotle's fifth element. The future, man. Well, I'll keep it. The optimistic future is one where we're able to move to renewable fuel sources. I think that's paramount. Because, like, a lot of conversation we can talk about, like, different issues, even, like, of race, gender. That, to me, doesn't matter if we can't, like, keep the planet moving. Yeah, like... yeah, like, we all gonna be black if we're just in a fucking ash cloud. Like, you motherfucking gray boy. With your sick-ass lungs. I didn't mean to, but yeah.
Facts, though.
Shit, man. So, I mean, that's like, the paramount point is an environmental future where we've got fresh water and the ability to grow food that sustains us.
Have you ever seen Horton Hears a Who? Like the Dr. Seuss one? Like the newer one?
I did. Of
so good.
All the little, like, Galapoo trees getting, I can't remember what was.
Yeah.
The Flexidorse.
Such a good movie, man.
Oh, wait, no, Horton Hears a Who. I'm thinking of the Lorax.
The Lorax, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? The Lorax?
Not
movie?
the whole thing, but...
It's so good. Horton Hears a Who is good, too, though. There's a new one.
The elephant, but the Lorax is of the Schmeshelump trees. I don't the Dr. Seuss trees.
Yeah, he's like, stop killing the planet.
Yeah,
fire film, dude.
It was a fire book in like 1950. Like the more pessimistic side of me looks at like, yo, motherfuckers have known the answer for a long time, and it's real hard to break habits. Like, I'm actually a dude who believes more in quote unquote the system than a lot of people.
Yeah. Why? Why do you believe in the system, Quinn?
Because the system itself is an organism that, like, the collective minds of humans, since we, like, first became more than just a single tribe of people, there is an organic nature to it.
But it doesn't work, and it doesn't serve the organism.
See, that's where I'm like, there's a difference between it
like
working poorly and not working at all.
Okay.
Like, the system does work to an incredible degree in that right now our voices can carry across the world because of concerted effort to create, like, microfiber lines that go across the Atlantic Ocean. And, like, that is part of a system that works.
But you're talking about the system, though.
Well, I mean, the system, the man, the universe.
I don't think
like all of these
power lines are the same thing as institutional racism.
Well, institutional racism is a symptom of a. Well, it's more like this. The systems aren't evil. The way in which they are being used and applied can have negative effect, and that's where I think there's so many problems. We could talk all day about the problems within the system. I just believe that there is an efficacy in which we can reach or work towards, as opposed to the complete, like, abolition of a system.
So what version, because there's a lot of systems that are currently in place, like, operating around the world. Mm-hmm. What version of the system do you think is the strongest? If we're talking about the system. System like of
capitalist democracy is I think the most overarching system across the globe.
That works?
That is currently in practice. That is working.
What one would you say is, like, the one that would be best served towards humans?
I think ethical capitalist democracy is still the best option that exists.
Where do you see that in operation currently?
Like here at the pod space, like Ryan and Samson, Nick G, and everyone who's connected to the creation of the pod space have created a thing, have a model in which to raise money, like a system of exchange with the people creating the content, and so that's the product, and then a means with which dispersing the product. Like that works in functionality and in theory. I mean, of course, where it gets messed up is that people prioritize the profit over other human beings.
Mm.
But I do believe that there's a way in which it can serve and does a greater good, or the highest good.
So would you say the... Okay, I'll keep listening.
Okay, I mean, like, again, I don't... I certainly don't want to end up being like a sponsor of capitalism itself. But like the future that I see still carries a lot of principles of like supply and demand, enterprise. Like all of that I think still will exist in the future. The way that I think it will work best, like the future that I envision, is one where need is no longer commodity. Like,
what do you mean?
Well, there's like right now, as long as enough people pay their taxes to support the services, we have quote unquote free water. And so that, whereas like we can walk right now and turn the faucet on and we get clean water, I would hope that in the future, need such as healthcare, need such as food, basic sustenance, like a Kobe beef burger with fancy ass cheese is always going to be a higher price. But poverty used to be seen as an essential to humanity. Like there was no one who had a vision where poverty didn't exist. I'm stealing from a book that I've been reading, Homo Deus, where he talked about, Jesus even said, it's like, there'll always be poor people, so you'll always have someone to serve. So he was like saying it in a good way. It's like, you can always help because there will always be poor people. But now we're at the point where we look at poverty as kind of like an algorithm where like, if we just tinker a few things, we can actually eliminate poverty. In my ideal future, that's been tinkered to the point where poverty doesn't exist. So need is no longer classified as a market. And so then we get to spend our money, do that exchange for things that we believe will better our lives. So that's like, I still see it as like capitalist, but it's like there's like people who look at, like I've often heard like they don't want to solve or cure cancer because cancer is part of its economic system. Like if we just got rid of cancer, then we lose a market base. That shit is fucked up.
Yeah, that's disgust.
It's absolutely disgusting. But only very recently have we come to a point where we think we have the technology and ability to cure something to that degree.
Right.
So yeah, I'd reiterate, just I envision an economic system where need is no longer
capitalist democracy.
It would change its names because like evolution is always part of it. I see what we have as being wildly and grossly inefficient, but not like entirely reprehensible.
I guess there's like different forms of belief that necessarily wouldn't, like I don't think the and I don't know, but I guess I just feel like our current system is not necessarily serving like all of us. Like I feel like a lot of people's like, well, we need these highways so that we can get places faster, but we're gonna like demolish people's homes so that, you know, like I don't necessarily know if the effect is always worth the cause. And I don't know if I feel like I'm like super happy about like more paved roads when it's like the benefit or the loss is like less grass and less open air and like clean resources. Like the water thing, we would have that naturally, I feel like, and there would be ways that we can like, I don't know, source that differently that doesn't include, I don't know, man, it's hard because like there's like benefits and access and like comfort that we now are like given. So I don't know, I'm torn.
Well, I mean, I am too. I haven't got any answers. Like, I dropped out of a
Like I
theater
don't want
degree,
to
so I don't
go down
have.
to a river and get my bucket of water and carry it 5 miles.
No,
Like,
but
wet.
that's the thing that I think is like so incredible that in a very short period of time, technology has gotten to the point where there's a vast network of pipes underneath us that brings water to people.
Mhm.
And at least here in this progressive slice of America, you need a very small baseline of capital to achieve at least that comfort. That, like,
Do we though?
to the point, like, if you can afford rent in some type of structure that is greenlit by the city, you can get water.
What do you think about universal basic income?
I
Because we print money. Like, it's not real. So, technically, everyone could be wealthy. We could just be like, oh, let's just print some more money.
Well, but if we print more money, then it's like the value of that money decreases.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like stupid motherfuckers on internet love to make fun of Zimbabwe because they had $1 trillion bills because they just printed too much money.
But then we need to, like, the issue is not necessarily money. It's like people just need a place to live. Right?
Totally,
Like,
yeah. But that's like, for me, I've like raised progressive and I see government as a means to achieve a lot of these things. But do we really want a single entity deciding all of this for us?
That's how it is now, though.
Not entirely. In that, like, I mean, there's so many
Like,
systems.
how much
like
of
the bank.
how much choice do you feel like we have? Like, I just feel like the Dakota Access Pipeline, for example. Not to take it like, you know, I feel like anytime I talk about problems, I'm just like, God damn the problems. But it's just like, I feel like there's something in just calling it out. You know, like, where is the human choice that these people with printed money get to decide they'll tear down someone else's livelihood that, like, they have treaties for? Like, who really has the balance?
I
You know?
feel it's in part escapism because I see problems just like you, and for me, I think like I'm more inclined to see a problem and then try to find as many different like nuances to it, and then I'm like, oh, it's so complicated, I don't understand it. Then I don't have to feel that way, and I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's like just in response to like what you see, I see the same, and then my process is to kind of detach from it by like over confusing it. I mean, Dakota Access Pipeline, I think it's a really complicated situation from the political side of it, like talking to the tribal administration and the oil company. There was like a whole lot of conversation that we were never a part of because it was between two entities who had need for one another. By the time it turned into the protest, I think that just the most fucked up thing is that there were government employees, police officers, and even, I think, National Guard, if not the military, who were used to back up corporate interest.
Right.
That is, I mean, that's like fundamentally flawed for a healthy democracy. And, I mean, that's like, the thing. Dakota Access Pipeline was leading up to the 2016 presidential election. No great surprise that the disenfranchisement that people felt gave us Trump. When you just feel like, oh, the system doesn't work for us, well, let's fuck up the system. Surprisingly, it was like two different sides of the political spectrum who feel that for different reasons. But for me, I'm just like...
So how do you want to see the system being used?
I want to see it as like...
Because there's so much like... It feels like toxic, but you're coming at it from a place of it's not either or, it's just about how you use it. And you're coming at it completely from its unbiased place.
Yeah, I would like to think. And that's
hard,
I mean,
bro. Like,
we can get so deep into it. Like, America is such a funny thing to me. Because I think at this point in time, like, exactly like the being that I am a manifestation of the best and worst that humanity has led up to.
What do you mean?
Well, in that, like, I have the ancestry of the oppressed and the oppressors, but I also then, with that understanding, have the choice to look at it through a different modality, and it's just like, I am the product of a bunch of successful generations in terms like
You're here.
every single one of my ancestors got laid and had kids, and that's tight.
No, I'm not gonna.
But when I say we, it's like we the sinners, the saints, we the pimps, the prostitutes, we the builders, the destroyers, like all that we are all the we. And so the system that exists is a manifestation of us. And that's where I'm like,
thank you to our producer Jordan Peele.
oh shit, I wasn't even there.
I'm Jordan Peele. Take off my mask.
Take off your mask and then it's you again.
It's just us, the movie.
Oh,
Like, welcome.
so I would like to be seen it used without these like assumed divisions, because
that's deep, man.
it's like right now in so many different ways it's like, oh, someone's getting some more on their plate that has to be coming off of my plate, and that's just a dumb, dangerous myth that has like been used throughout history, that finally we're at the point where it just doesn't have to be anymore. Like, it's a mythology that there is a great other. Like, we understand this planet is small. And it's small and it's lonely. And right now, it's all we got. But it's...
I mean, except for Mars 2020. Shout out to Elon Musk.
Word. But there was, like, I saw, like, one interview with him, and...
I appreciated how you actually, like, took that in. Like, yeah, we could move to another planet.
Well, I just thought of his face. Just, like, smug. I was like, well...
Technology, motherfucker.
But, like, someone was interviewing him, and he was talking about Mars, and they're like, oh, so it's just like a rich people escape plan? And I think he very quickly did the same thing where he processed it. But he's, like, done that thinking. I'm sure, like... man, at them parties where motherfuckers like, oh man, Mars is gonna be lit when we go there, like 500 of us. But he was like,
just running around on Mars, like, yeah.
But he was like, nah, it would be tight if it were that tight, but it certainly won't be. Like,
what is his goal? The
first people who make it to Mars, that shit is gonna be hard living. And
you have to like learn a new ecosystem.
Yeah, new ecosystem, and I think even most scarily, it's like completely human crafted.
Yeah.
That, like, I mean, there's so much luck that has happened in the human story up to this point. But in the book that I'm reading, Homo Deus, he's talking about like we're very close to moving past the Homo sapien species. That with like nanotechnology, biotechnology, like motherfucking cloud, like we are actually changing our makeup on like the human family tree, and all that takes like a lot of trial and error. So for the time being, like we're stuck on planet Earth, and we have to, I think for those of us who really care, like me included, and part of like what I want to do next is find a platform and messaging that destroys these supposed barriers to human connection. Just like, it's crazy to me that like the MAGA red hat is seen as such like a triggering symbol to some people. Like, man, how much symbolism can like one thing hold?
I mean, it's also like the symbol of like how the Nazi symbol is like the word peace in China or something.
Yeah.
It's just like, what are you subscribing to this symbol, and then like how does that then affect me? You know?
Yeah. Totally.
Which it's like you can't discount that some people subscribe like the MAGA hat to like racism and oppression, and like I feel like maybe even unfairly, just to be completely like, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump. I didn't vote for him, but I do think a lot of people put on to him stuff that may not be even shit that he's talking about. Like, I watched one of his early interviews and I was just like, damn, he's really not as crazy sounding as like certain specific things make him out to be.
Yeah.
And I was surprised by that, which made me think like maybe I shouldn't be so judgmental, like quickly like snap on people.
What I guess the world I want to live in the future is a world without fear, because I feel like so much of it boils down to fear. And in a lot of these conversations, I always take the time to recognize my privilege as like a cis, straight man, well-spoken, educated. I had two parents who like taught me a lot. That's like all privilege. Like, I didn't choose any of that. That's just like what I get to show up to the table with. So when I like talk about like, oh, it'd be awesome if people weren't as afraid of the MAGA hat or illegal immigrants or whatever. I realize I'm saying that as a dude who hasn't experienced some of the traumas that make saying, oh, don't be afraid, like really fucking dumb. It's like, there's some people who are like, oh, harassment's not that big of a deal, just like let it roll off you. Like, that is physically impossible for some people. But nonetheless, I want to strive for a world where if you feel fear, it's not the like lizard brain response, the immediate, but it's like, okay, I'm gonna process this, think about it, and then, oh, boom, yeah, I fucking hate this. I feel like that's the more valid course of action than what a lot of us are mired in. I mean, I love politics. I think, like, I love sports and politics for the same reason. And I think those processes are really good at firing people up. And for like the discussions that are happening now, there's so much otherism. And that's where like identity politics are important, because we have to recognize the many faces of America and what that means. But it also turns like, I think it turns very toxic when your counter identity is now like an evil. And the way that people are like, oh, well, BLM, like Black Lives Matter, is now an identity that people can look at as this great other, this great threat, without ever interfacing with what it is. That's like I was raised in Denver, like I was never made to be afraid of white people the way now sometimes it like seeps in through social media.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
And that's like,
that's kind of crazy, bro.
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
I mean, because like, especially DSA, like the straight white guys I knew smoked a lot of weed and were listening to Wu-Tang.
Right. I guess that's kind of like, yeah, that's kind of crazy for me too. But then it's like after school, and when I started like spending more time, like we were lucky to go to DSA, and I don't think there were a lot of like black kids that had that experience also. But when I see other black kids that weren't around those environments, in just like mostly like black schools, if it's not like an HBCU where like pride is the like the determiner for like the success, it's like sometimes things are kind of like stuck in this like mire. I don't know if that's the right word, but
yeah, and like I'm very fortunate for our experiences like at DSA because I learned more importantly like how to be weird and enjoy that shit. But like I was talking to a brother from Detroit and we had a great discussion about the system because he's a real estate developer. Like here in Denver, we think of real estate developers as like they're a great identity to
the dude bros
project this negativity on.
Yeah.
But he's a brother from Detroit who's a real estate developer. So we were talking about
father and son real estate company yesterday, like two black people.
Really?
Yeah,
oh, that's beautiful. But he was talking to me like growing up in Detroit, he didn't know that black people weren't supposed to be doctors or lawyers or what have you because that's what he was like raised into.
I feel like that's like what like when I walk down to 5 Points and I see like the black barbers, dentists, lawyers, like I'm just like, where's that representation, you know?
Dude, that's like one of the craziest things to me is realizing that like integration had its downsides. And it was like segregation forced black people
to make
to enterprise.
Right.
Yeah. And like we've had our heated discussions about a whole lot of things.
A lot of topics. Honestly.
And for me, like one of the ones that I was like, damn, was the fact that like the black middle class was one of the first to bounce from 5 Points when they got quote unquote their freedoms. And not entirely, but there was the white flight and then there was the middle class black flight, which really doomed 5 Points. And that's like, it was, there's nothing I would rather do than to like be able to just hop in the time machine and go back to like 1953 5 Points, just black ass 5 Points.
Yeah.
And experience what that was like because here in Denver, this super progressive city, it is progressive to the point that you can go to a yoga studio anywhere in the city and feel like, yeah, I can be here. But it ain't that quintessential black experience. So that there's a disconnect even coming from like my vision of the world. But really like where I'm at is like, oh, it doesn't have to be this aggressive, I guess. Because I think it's like, just like the whole political debate now, not just in America, but like increasingly across the world, is that we feel like we're closer to the end times than I think that we are.
Oh, you think we're not as doomed as people make it out to be?
No, yeah, I feel like really this shit is lit.
Are you a spiritual person, Quinn?
I'm very spiritual, but I think like right now my practice is to embrace the more rational view of the world.
Okay.
But that's still my spiritual practice. Like Fish Gang, Pisces, I feel so much shit. And I was raised Christian, like first Black Baptist and then Methodist. And then, the Methodists, they were all like, oh, you think Jesus was a cool dude? Well, come have some pizza and we can talk about it later. As opposed to like church every day Black Baptist where you feel that like there's a smell to Baptist, which is beautiful. My spiritual practice now is like more, oh, well, it's a big world and people believe a lot of things and I don't know what I'm supposed to believe. So
1 second. When we get to a certain mark in Instagram world, it needs to be restarted.
Oh, tight.
Okay. Sorry, y'all. Part 2 for the IG followers. You got a lot of followers, though.
Yeah, I mean, peace, love. Thank you to all the friends, homies.
So yeah, I like that though, man. Like right there in the camera. I like that though. I think that's really cool. That I think I'm learning how to blend that rational with the spiritual. But I like how you said you're making that your practice. I think that's like.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, tell me, like, for you've got a new journey ahead of you, and like, what is not the narrative you're trying to carry, but more so like, what is the mythology of Kid Astronaut that you want to carry into 2019 and beyond?
Yeah, man. I guess it's just like believe in yourself and do big things. Outside of like the fear and like the uncertainty of how it's gonna work out, it's just like I always want to like, yeah, just break outside of my limitations. And I don't know. This podcast is my podcast. It's not. You can't ask me questions.
I'm a conversationalist.
I like that.
As your guest, like, I feel empowered to.
All right, that's cool.
Seek answers from someone who, like, I've known for such a long time and respect.
No, I mean, I think right now, like, I've definitely, I had this moment like maybe 2008, and it was like we were on tour. It wasn't 2008. It had to be a little bit later than that, like 2012 or something. And I was like, man, I haven't really gone through shit. Like, I haven't, like, I feel like other people are like, life, you know what I'm saying? And I was just like, I haven't really done anything. But now in, like, 2018, I'm like, damn, I've gone through a lot of stuff.
I'm saying,
like,
dude.
Life has been crazy. And I am glad that I've had the balance of both sides. But I think in a lot of ways, my philosophy right now is just, like, live. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I want and things that I'm not completely, like, damn, I'm not where I want to be yet. But I'm not letting that necessarily impact or deter me from still trying, you know?
Yeah. Of course, man. And that's
because I know where I want it to, like, go.
And that's really, like, the rational side of me is kind of even scared by that idea of, like, it's just time to live life and experience.
Yeah, dude.
I realize, like, I don't know, I've always been, like, pretty safe when it comes to things. And
I feel like I've been the exact opposite.
I think so, too.
Life,
And that's, I really, like, our archetypes have interesting interaction with each other because of that dichotomy. But I think part of the spiritual practice that I hope to find is, like, realize that's not a dichotomy. And
what do you mean?
In that, like, you can be rational and emotional at the same time. You can be cautious and adventurous at the same time. The challenge is that I think it's just work. It's because especially knowing, like, all the artists that we know, like, some of the most interesting people I know are the people who have no idea what they're doing. That I get to see them as this person, but in their own minds, they're somebody completely different. But yeah, what I hope to achieve is a balance. That's always going to need, like, correcting and overcorrection back and forth, but is to be able to have the freedom to be safe or choose to be wild. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have all of that within you. But even at the tender age of 26 and 10 months, like,
sweet little baby cherub, 26 and 10 months.
I feel, like, old as fuck and kind of just, like that. Like, you remember early 20s, that FOMO feeling of just like, oh, I got to be out there. I can't miss out on this stuff. In some ways, yeah. And then, man, it is so lit when you just at the crib. Like, at the crib, drinking water and, like, not worrying about bullshit.
I guess that's just, like, I've chosen to kind of live my life on the edge because I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm, like, able to. I don't feel like I'm living my best if I'm not, like, learning. And, like, I've had a lot of, like, I've made a lot of situations happen that, like, I wasn't, like, ah, damn, I wouldn't necessarily ask to put myself in this situation. But then it's like, motherfucker, I turned out even better than you imagined. And then I'm just like, what? Like, what?
Oh, life.
Yeah, just
got
like,
me again.
God damn, dude. Because at the time will always feel so fucking hectic.
Yeah. I guess, like, it's the gift of presence. To be in the present. I guess, I mean, and that's, like, type of shit that my rational mind was like, what? That doesn't even make sense. You're always there. But, like, in our minds, we have the choice to be almost anywhere. But to authentically live in a moment, like, that is actually, like, super fleeting, I feel. Like, our brains give us the computing power to be on autopilot for so much. But I think that's, like, the divine challenge is to put yourself in the present, which is super hard with social media because, like, it's now almost automatic. I just go to my phone. In the moments where I think, like, you need to just sit and be uncomfortable, whether you're in line at the grocery store or just if you're, like, especially at a party, there's moments where I'll just, like, move kind of to the wall and then check my phone and wait for the next thing to happen, as opposed to just, like, be there with these other people. And that's where I think that's those great choices get made, or choices get made for you in the divine way where you're like, oh, snap, I didn't even have an idea. But you just got to, like, show up to that.
Yeah.
And then the universe or God or whatever your belief system is will take care of you from there.
Can I check our, see if we got any
more Danny talking shit?
A couple seasons ago, there was a Latino Power Ranger, I guess, because this little kid pulled on my shirt at work and asked me if I was the Green Ranger. And then Quinn is a hater.
Yeah, I'm definitely a hater. That's...
You're a ham, Danny Ramos from the Black Actors Guild. I'm back. Forgot to tell y'all I love you, and this is dope. Ryan Fu, Mariah, Ron Adams, Tim. There's a lot of people watching.
Hey.
It's a good episode.
God bless y'all on this cold ass end of December day.
It's so cold. Yeah, last night was crazy too. Hey, nice job, guys. What's up? Oh, Aiden. Yeah. Let me see. Where are we at? As much as I enjoy talking to you.
I enjoy it too, but I got an old man bladder, so
yeah.
I won't.
So let's wrap it up, man. What's the first thing you're doing in 2019? Just preparing for March, right?
Actually preparing for a handful of things. I'm like geeked, but I know I'm gonna be so tired. Heading out to New York in like January 10th to do rehearsals for this immersive show called Nourishment. Okay. Gang, shout out to DSA alum. Gonna be rehearsing with them out in New York and then bringing the show to Denver in February. And then on 22nd of February, my birthday.
Hey, Pisces.
Black Actors Guild will be doing Untitled at the Denver Art Museum in conjunction with Jordan Castile's Returning the Gaze special exhibition. She's also from Denver, lives in Harlem now, so I'm heading out to New York to do some things with Denver people and then coming to Denver to New York thing. Yeah. And then in between all that, starting the rehearsals for Skeleton Crew at Curious. So, man, it's like, congrats, man. Thank you, dude. It's flex. I'm busy till April, so
I like that. Fuck
with me, but please don't ask me to do things.
Right on. Okay, last thing before I do my plug. Advice: how do you deal with anger? Do you have anger? Is that something you experience, and how do you handle that?
I think as a Pisces, I just get more sad than I get angry. But a thing that I've been learning through, like we've been through shit now, and going through it, like I really try to just own my choices as fast as possible, and that's like. Where when you're confronted with a new like stimulus that makes you feel like unsafe, my natural reaction is now to just either confront it, like if that's like a conversation with a person, or to just let myself feel all of that shit. Shower beers are great.
Hey, let it burn.
I'm saying that's like finding any way to like make your surroundings as cinematic as possible. Really, like that's
just looking out the window.
You're looking out the window, like find yourself in Cheeseman Park, and you're just watching people run by you.
For anger,
a nice skyline sunset. So that's like
any emotional like
anger
uprising.
I think like most of my anger is stimulated by other people, so then it's just like confront them on that shit. And there's like shout out to Bae Joanna. She's taught me nonviolent communication, which at first I was
a violent person.
No. But violent communication is different than fuck you, nigga. It can certainly turn into that, but it's
like taking it even further back, and even in your communication style.
Yeah, it's really like when you confront someone on
That's
it, it's
crazy,
just
man.
like looking at life through the modalities. Like, did someone do this to me, or did they do something that's making me feel things? And the latter, like this person's actions made me feel this way because, is kind of like the phraseology that has helped me a lot in the last few years to just like not feel that, because anger is definitely like my least favorite emotion to carry. So that just gives me a way to kind of pull back, look at the perspective, and then confront them on it. It's like, you did this to me, but more so it's like, you did this and I feel this way. Like, ideally, then you can say because, but if you're not at the because stage yet, you put the ball in their court. It's like, here, I have this. I don't like it very much. Can you hold on to me? Hold on to it for me? Look at it. What do you think's wrong with it? I think that's just the best way to create dialogue. Anger at the world, that's usually a game of 2K and some raspberry lemonade.
I just got fucking NBA 2K for like iPhone mobile, and I've been playing it.
Oh,
nonstop.
word. See, you're like playing like some like 12-year-old in China who's just like wrecking it from 3.
Maybe, I hope so.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been doing pretty good over here.
Oh, word? Nice.
Yeah, no, I'm smashing. Splash, John.
All right, hit us with the plug.
KID Astronaut t-shirts. Go to the link in my bio, merch store. This guy actually modeled this one.
Yeah,
with
dude.
Joanna.
Uh-huh.
So you could see those if you scroll down on my IG.
I rock them all the time. Like as I told you,
I need to get you a pink
I
one.
ripped the pink one working out.
I need to order
major experience.
some new pink ones. I've been going pretty fast. But please grab some shirts. We also have the pink one available online. And yeah, I think that was it.
All right,
Quinn,
brother
thank
man,
you,
John.
sir.
Thank you.
Peace.